Good morning, everybody. I guess you can't see me on the screen just yet. I even contemplated not even doing this episode just because I was in a foul kind of mood. Um, it is shoot from the hip Saturday. I usually have my notes ready, the results from all the week, you know, just to kind of go over what I thought about X, Y, and Z. Coming off a very mixed bag WrestleMania, a optimistic Raw in regards to character swaps and call ups. AEW still, even if it isn't giving you 100% of its product, still producing some pretty damn good television. And SmackDown having to lean on its call ups to make it more compelling. And then yesterday, right before SmackDown, has been the nom de jour for releases here lately. Yeah, a whole bunch of names that we have seen over the last couple of years. Some that probably needed to go and find greener pastures or let go. Others who were injured and re-injured recently, who just re-signed, got let go. And even talent who, for no other good reason than TKO just cutting the budget. Yeah. So, let me start with this. This is from the Cheap Seats Wrestling Podcast. This is a member show of Sped Rock Productions. It is also a Veteran Ram podcast, and over on the other side of the screen, that way, is my hashtag. You can find all my links. Like, share, subscribe, whether it's on YouTube, Twitter, X, Discord, Blue Sky, Instagram. I apologize for feeling and sounding lethargic today. It's just, I swore I wasn't going to let yesterday, the releases bother me. But there are a few that, just, it doesn't sit right. Especially with what you could have done with them to benefit your product. And some that made no sense at all, i.e. Kairi Sane. Now, yes, I have my gripes and bitches and moans and complaints and everything else about Kairi, but it's neither here nor there. Anytime anybody loses a job, it's not great. But thankfully, because in the wrestling world, we have the options and the ability, I kid you not, to be able to find new homes for talent. It's no longer 2002, 2005, 2006, when your only options were either an extended indie run or, hey, go to Ring of Honor, go to TNA. Like some did, like Kurt Angle, like a Booker T, like VKM, New Age Outlaws, like Ron Killings back then, Christian Cage. That was a different time when it was just solely WWE running the wrestling product out there, and the other ones trying to catch up to the big bad conglomerate. Now, with yesterday's releases, if you will bear with me for a minute, I'm gonna go look them up. It sucks because, let's see here. And releases. Let's see here. Kairi Sane, Aleister Black, Zelina. Kairi didn't get to finish off the story with Asuka. Now they're probably pivoting, as you saw on SmackDown last night, to where Julia is going to join up with Asuka. And where does that leave Io? Io's in kind of that creative ain't got nothing for me right now except for just fighting Asuka. But for what reason? You just took the reason away. Aleister Black and Zelina. Rumors were that they were supposed to be in the McAfee spot when it came to the Randy Orton Cody Rhodes storyline. That way, it gave Aleister Black arms, tentacles, whatever you want to call it, into feuds with Randy and Cody. Since it was said over the last year that there was more of an interest by WWE to put Aleister in a broader, higher card position than where he was at. And ergo, make Zelina more of a threat. The Wyatt Six. The Wyatt Six has not been right since their feuds with the Hurt Business, or the Hurt Syndicate over in AEW now, and Final Testament. And even then, when they were finished with that feud, 3/5 of the Final Testament were cut. Being Pretty Paul Ellering, or Precious Paul Ellering. I don't want Paul Ellering getting mad at me if he ever sees this. Akam and Razor. So, there's that. Santos Escobar out with an injury, triceps injury, but also dealing with, in the same arm, a ulnar crucial ligament joint. Same thing in WWE or with professional baseball, in MLB, is known as a Tommy John surgery. Now, Tommy Johns don't necessarily affect wrestlers as they do pitchers and defensive players, or the defensive end of how you play baseball, but it can be a setback. Motor City Machine Guns would have been a great tag team 10 years ago for WWE. Would have revitalized then even their struggling tag team division, which really only had at the time the Profits coming up. The Usos pretty much running shop outside of the OC when the OC came in. So they would have been a lot better if they had been in WWE 10 years ago, and that's no slight on Chris Sabin and Alex Shelley. I think they end up in AEW as a last run. I mean, they are kind of getting long in the tooth. They've been in the business quite a bit, longer than many who are on TV. Andre Chase. I was watching a video last night with Andre Chase and how he was speaking to the fact that he was never supposed to make it to NXT TV. Never was. That it was completely fan reaction as to how Chase U and the byproducts of Chase U, the Buddy Haywards and the Duke Hudsons and the Thea Hales of the world, the Cale Dixons, and how it got Uriah Connors or Brogan Finley into a broader position. Now with Birthright, with Lexis King and Charlie Dempsey and Ariana Grace and the Nepo Baby Chaser Stax. Yeah. Paul Cruz, Uhaa Nation, from the start. Vince didn't know what to do with him, and he got lost in the sauce under the Triple H era. Now, yes, he has many peers that would, just like with Aleister and Zelina, go to bat for them. But being a TKO and not necessarily a Triple H decision, they were cutting money to spend money somewhere else. I mean, they do have a UFC thing that's not even going to be paid for by anybody in attendance at the White House in 2 months. So, Who knows? Zoe Stark, Alba Fire, or Kaylee Ray, they will find work. I think Kaylee Ray goes to Stardom, works New Japan strong, with Alex Windsor more than likely is headed to AEW, since Isla Dawn's already there as well. Same thing with the Grizzled Young Veterans. Zoe Stark, likely Stardom, maybe TNA with Daria Ray. Who knows? Tyra May Steele. Now, I don't know how many times this woman's been fired in the last couple of weeks by the internet wrestling community, and how the internet wrestling community felt about her. Yeah, she was a little bit more conservative than most people like, and hey, that's cool. That's her thing. You know, that's the way she views life. Have at it. You know, I'm not one to tell somebody how to feel, how to be, how to do, blah blah blah. Because guess what? Not my place. Not. I could sit here and bellyache and ballyhoo, but I'm not gonna tell somebody how to feel about the world at large outside of professional wrestling. Now, WWE is now 0-2 since Kurt Angle with Olympic talent outside of Chad Gable. Okay? I mean, honestly, Olympic talent in WWE seem to be, what's the best way to put it? More hit and miss than they used to be. Serena Linton, Chris Island, Trill London, LFG talent. They were getting some looks on Evolve. But, and in all honesty, if you're making it to a third season of trying to get a contract to be on Evolve, to be on NXT, probably the indies are calling so that you can play your trade and you can get a lot of other looks. So that way, if a WWE or WWE ID or AEW, MLPW, MLW, or TNA come calling later, okay, hey, you're a bit more polished. You take and shine to the business. You're serious about what you're wanting to put out there in front of the cameras and in front of people in the business. Tyreek and Tyson never really got off the ground. They were collateral damage of losing Wesley or Desmond Xavier back to TNA, and then eventually from TNA to AEW. That's not AEW's fault. That's getting lost in the sauce down there at the PC. Plus, I believe one of them was injured. So, you know, it's not looking very good for TKO to cut your injured talent. Let him rehab, and if you have no use for him, you have no creative for him, then yeah, cut him. But you let the Luke Menzies and the Santos Escobars of the world and other talent who are nursing an injury be able to finish that injury under the TKO umbrella, be able to use the PC as a rehab place, and then if they serve no purpose to the greater masters, which is TKO, allow them the best in their future endeavors. Luca Cristofino and Malik Blade. Casualties. Now that we no longer have the D'Angelo family, there's not creative for them, and I'm kind of shocked that, and I'd rather her not be cut at all. Adriana Rizzo. She's been out injured with a second ACL tear, I believe. And with her, it's not hard to see. She's talented. She's got charisma, but she's got to stay healthy in most respects for WWE to make something of her in their women's division down there. and if she succeeds, thrives on the main roster. Now, a lot of people are clamoring after the minute they got the phone call from TKO, like Zelina Vega had stated, and not from Triple H, not from Nick Khan. Could have been from Nick Khan since he is a member of the board for TKO. You know, this is where we used to go back and when talent relations got the notification to call these people to cut them. It was because Vince then and Triple H now knew that they had nothing in regards to creative in the long-term form. So, it was a budget cut. It was a legitimate budget cut. It was a, hey, we don't want to keep you here and waste our dollar and our bottom line, but also we don't want to waste your opportunity to produce and make yourself something so that whether we call you back again or another company calls you, you're ready. Now, will someone end up in AEW? Out of the bunch that I think ends up in AEW, the aforementioned Motor City Machine Guns. Zoe Alba or Kaylee Ray, and I'd like to say Santos Escobar, but through CMLL, see him redon the mask. Rey Mysterio did it after being seen on WCW television for the last 4 years of his career there without a mask. So the opportunity is always there. But, WrestleMania. So we were all saying. WrestleMania was a mixed bag. And as many of us have already seen and how we felt was Saturday was not produced by the powers that be on the creative level of WWE. It was TKO special. Let's throw as many ads on there to crowd out and cut match times, which made no sense. Now, I will say as an upside, WWE and the folks at Allegiant running 3-hour WrestleManias inside of 45 to 55 the next night, 1,000 people, and running them early enough to where when the show ended, there were still public transportation options. If you weren't parked across the street at the Mandalay Bay or within the park, paying exorbitant fees to park within the parking lot there at Allegiant Stadium, then my hat's off to WWE and to TKO for putting the fans first in that aspect. But, as we were coming out of that, the fact that the prices for shows, i.e. WWE World, on location, premium pass, cooking with Cody Rhodes or X, Y, and Z, riding on their bus. I mean, a billionaire sat through the Jade and Rhea match and didn't say one thing. Hey, cool, I'll drop $100,000 just to sit here and look stupid and not say a thing. Thank God he didn't, because he probably didn't know what he could say in that moment. But that's the logic for TKO, that on location stuff. For as much as we want Vince McMahon back, I don't. I blame Vince McMahon for the whole damn thing. I blame Vince for the fact that we are sitting with people that don't understand professional wrestling, that handicap and cut at the knee those who do, who think they know better than the creative on how and who should be on WWE television, which even those two individuals, Jelly Roll and Pat McAfee, even both sat there and said, after the fact of that match on Saturday, and outside of WWE cameras, why were we even involved? You know, something about this didn't feel right. Now, that's not to sit there and say that I'm unhappy with the fact that Pat McAfee and Jelly Roll were part of things. You know, both of them took the time, the effort to train, to be on-screen talent, to be productive members of the WWE roster. Now, did it take away from opportunities that people already on the roster weren't getting? Yeah. So, sometimes it's best you already know the writing on the wall before the writing on the wall decides to hit you in the face. Do I expect them back in the near future? Sure. Pat McAfee's not WWE, but you know, he's got other things to do. He's got a podcast. He's got College Game Day. He has his own fingers and 50 other things that a man's going to be a father of a second child here soon. So, no hate there if he's taking time away from the business to kind of decomp and detox, because sometimes wrestling can be toxic. Now, Sunday, on the other hand, Sunday was very much markered the way a WWE WrestleMania and WWE Creative had more control Sunday on how they wanted to do the show. Yes, did we get the commercials? I mean, ESPN's going to have to make up their money somehow because, you know, with the share agreements, like I have Hulu. So my unlimited plan is built into my Hulu bundle. So I'm not paying $30. And it probably is built into the fee I pay a month. So, yeah, I am, but not in the way you think. And if people had better understanding of, hey, where do I go on my phone, tablet, computer, on these streaming apps that you sign in and attach, like I can explain to you right then and there. If you go to your ESPN app, look for the little gear box. And if it doesn't say there, look for something that says options. And when you go pop that up, you look for TV provider, and you look for, there's something else there. And you sign into both. You know, sign into your My Disney account. Be wise to get a My Disney account. Even if you don't use Disney Plus or Hulu or X, Y, and Z that Disney Plus has a bundle agreement with in regards to things like Hulu. Use your TV provider, go sign into your Hulu account, or now YouTube TV isn't there just yet. I don't believe they're there until the summer, so most likely it won't be until SummerSlam for YouTube TV. But a lot of other places, i.e. Spectrum, Dish, DirecTV, Cox, Comcast, I think AT&T. You know, those cable providers are going to have it at no extra cost to you because they already have ESPN built into the television program. That's why. Once you do that, that unlimited factor comes off the table. That $30, you know, it isn't really that much a worry, and you can watch it. Now, Sunday, you probably saw, and I hate to say it, I think that Roman Reigns and CM Punk happened to be a better match than any match that CM Punk and John Cena, or CM Punk and Seth Rollins, or CM Punk and Daniel Bryan or Bryan Danielson ever had under the WWE umbrella. Why? Well, kind of told two stories. Does the Tribal Chief still have it to where, you know, he's not all talk and no cattle? And can CM Punk still hang as a main event talent? Now, yeah, CM Punk played into he's old, because guess what? CM Punk is slowly close to 48 years old. The same with an AJ, same with John Cena, and they're going to play into the fact that their bodies are a lot more beaten and worn. Now, Punk, mind you, outside of his jaunts to AEW and UFC, had 10 years off. So his body probably lost some of the calluses that he developed. So he might respond faster. But at 40, with metabolism and everything else, if you're not taking care of your body starts to show wear and tear a lot faster. You can ask me, this guy. Combat and military wear and tear. I'm 42 and I'm already feeling a lot older in certain areas of my body than I should be. My knees, my back, my left shoulder. So, and then everybody was like, "Well, what was the point of the chair? Not the chair, the stair spot, in which Roman." WWE won't tell you, hey, by the way, no disqualification, or hey, referee discretion beforehand. Likely, whoever was the producer of the match, which later was revealed to be Paul Heyman, Michael Hayes, and I believe Bobby Roode. It was a lot more loose in regards to factoring in the rules than a main event should have had. Jade and Rhea. Rhea even self-admitted. Jade's a lot better than a lot of people think. Now, does that say that Jade should stop getting better? No. Because if you're not trying to get better, you kind of start to get worse. You regress. And I'll go into that here in a second with some other things. I really don't want to talk about Saturday's card because, except for Seth and Gunther, Jacob and Drew, and I even, to a point, liked Cody and Randy. A lot of Saturday's card is something that I want to forget because it really didn't resonate in the long term. Sunday was much better. Sunday had a lot of better hitters in regards to the oohs and the ahs of the moment during most of the matches. And congratulations to Montez Ford and Bianca Belair, who decided WrestleMania was the perfect pregnancy announcement arena. As Angela Dawkins has continued to rib, I'd like to now recognize them by their new name, Pull Out Game Week Profits. It needs some workshopping, I know, but to play into Dawkins' rib on Montez, it's the Pull Out Week Game Profits now, not just the Street Profits, because they got money to raise for them babies they be having. But it sucks that Bianca will be out for an extended period of time, but she's gonna come back 100 miles an hour when she does. Same thing with Naomi. If she hasn't already had, her and Jimmy haven't already had their child yet. Raw wasn't boring. I didn't want to fall asleep by 9:30 watching Raw. NXT, I think NXT is going to hearken more and kind of lean more on their talent that they have upcoming to really start to show out, or WWE is going to go next man up. Sean, I speak to next man up. AEW is very good about having a next man, next woman up in their rosters if something happens to a talent above them. WWE is what I like to call the funnel of fatality when it's dealing with your main event, upper mid card, your mid card, not to say that you suck, your lower mid card, and your enhancement. You got to have an opportunity for advancement. And that funnel is very thin in WWE, to where it's the land of opportunity legitimately in AEW. And you're going to sit there and have people that they're not going to understand, per se. They're not going to understand. Oh, hey, by the way, why is X, Y, and Z facing X, Y, and Z in AEW? Well, you've built up enough cred for that person to face that person that if a title change out of the blue or planned happens, okay, it makes sense. Darby Allin beating MJF after the story was literally there for fans to not bitch about. MJF in the past, whether he was AEW champion or not, beat Darby Allin with 4 headlock takeovers, 4 judo tosses. Okay, that's why you saw the 4 corner coffin drops leading into Darby getting the pin, because he was harkening back to those 4 times before in which MJF got over on him with just a simple move. The fact that Darby Allin can face Tommaso Ciampa like he did Wednesday, which was a beautiful match. A friend of mine, Stampede, rated it 9.25 stars, I believe, or gave it a 9.25 rating. He kind of does more cage match style ratings and tries to lean into the Meltzer world, but that's what he's got. I am going to concur with Stampede. I mean, it was simple. It was hard hitting. It kept the crowd compelled, and the TV audience followed suit. You could not find very much fault or very much in the way of flaws in how that match went off on Dynamite. Now, some people are already asking, with all these releases from WWE by TKO the other day, what to expect in regard? If you're going to see any talent go to AEW, it's going to have to make sense. They're going to probably sit in Ring of Honor until Tony feels secure enough. And that's not to sit there and say that a Kaylee Ray or Nikki Cross or X, Y, and Z wouldn't make sense on an AEW roster from signing their contract the minute they sign their contract. But look at Athena and Deonna Purrazzo. Deonna Purrazzo, Athena, they make talent. They put them over. They get them over. They make them credible threats, yes. What? Into day something or other, like Athena is almost 4 years into her Ring of Honor Women's Championship run. A woman like Deonna Purrazzo should be on any roster. The fact that a good women's submission wrestler could be on TV, a good technical worker could be on TV. If fans weren't so much about the bumps and the spots, and learn to enjoy a slow building a match to where a submission could be as impactful as the bump. You'd see her in more places than just MLPW and ROH, and that's not an indictment on Tony Khan either. It's, and from what I'm thinking, is Deonna Purrazzo is a player coach in Ring of Honor. So she is kind of testing the waters of those who are going to face an Athena, going to face, and Stampede will probably remind me who the television champion, the women's television champion for Ring of Honor is. But, point being, Deonna Purrazzo, at this point in her career, she's a barometer. She tells you exactly who is going to be worth the push and who might just need a little more time to doing the job until the push is worth it. Really, I'm not going to talk too long on TNA today. Their talent produces really good matches. But, and it was cool on Carlos Silva to do his thing about recouping the folks at WrestleCon and the guys with the Hitchcock Memorial Show for the room and I would assume appearance fee for Leon Slater. WrestleCon and the Collective and the other shows either co-produced by GCW, JCW, X, Y, and Z, Josh Barnett, they allow a wealth of talent who are not signed directly per se to the major acronymed companies like WWE, AEW, TNA. They allow for a broader audience, whether it's on Triller TV, if it's on DAZN, PVV.com, Amazon Prime, wherever you get, your non-WWE, non-AEW television in regards to wrestling from. Now, I will say this. If you did not watch Bloodsport this weekend, you missed the forthcoming changing of an era, the passing of a torch. What Matt Riddle started and Josh Barnett continued, it's going on hiatus. Does that mean Bloodsport's dead for the long term? I don't think so. But I also do think that with Bloodsport, it's going to take people that really care about it. Shayna Baszler, probably a Natty Neidhart. If the rumor is to be believed that Josh Barnett is heading to WWE's Performance Center to be a coach, I could see where he helps in teaching pro wrestlers to look more legitimate in how they grapple their catch wrestling. Beyond that, only reason why you'd be there. There might be other more good qualities that the man has, and Josh Barnett is not some inexperienced fly-by-night fighter. Man is a legitimate MMA badass that decided to take this on, that allowed for this hybrid of MMA and professional wrestling to exist for as long as he did. And I respect that. My hat, I tip my cap to that man for doing as many of the Bloodsport events that he has done over the last couple of years. I'd like to say that the Philly event was my personal favorite. But a lot of times when it comes down to us bitching about professional wrestling, and the people that run the show, the owners. I am a very big believer that if you've ever heard the term Jerry Jonesing the business, you're more nitpick instead of letting something mature naturally. You know, you can't always have too much in the way of hyper critiquing something from the sideline when you have absolutely no idea what you're talking about, and taking it out of the hands of the people that do. And for a time, AEW did that. Now, notoriously, WWE does it quite often, has since WCW and ECW shut down. They've had their periods of, hey, Rudy Tool here, something's going great. Then TNA, we all know that their sordid history from the Jarrett era to the Anthem era. A lot of people are still shocked that TNA even exists in the wrestling lexicon. But that is not something to necessarily think negative of. It's just something to build off of as far as our knowledge of professional wrestling. When we watch it, when we go, oh, okay, I can see why they did that. And that's not being a hardcore fan like me, a longtime fan who can kind of a lot of times see through the minutia. And other times, yeah, I will lean on my friends that might have a little bit more of a know in what is being talked about or being done than I do. It's called learning. Learn what you watch. Ask your friends that might be a little bit more knowledgeable, hey, why are they doing it this way? Or what's your opinion on this? That's the beauty of the IWC in a lot of times. When we collaborate together, when we talk together positively, even critiquing positively what we see, kind of giving different points of view. Now I will say this, whether it's been online or it's been in public, how fans are treating professional wrestlers, and it's not just WWE talent, as we have seen with CM Punk, Drew McIntyre, Randy Orton, the fact that Damian Priest even had to provide security for his coworkers because fans just kind of didn't know their limits. It was put out within the last 24 hours that Punk saw no heat from what he did on behalf of Bayley and AJ Lee. And I wouldn't give that man heat to begin with either. The fact that fans are stalking professional wrestlers at airports, at restaurants, hotels, they're human beings too. Oh, well, they're celebrities. Well, yes, they are celebrities, but they do have the right to privacy like everybody else. How would you like it if a camera followed you 24/7, 365 days a year? Feel pretty invasive, wouldn't it? It would feel like your world would be, instead of your world being like this, your world just now being that, being under that microscope for everybody to see. You don't want everybody in on how you make the spaghetti sauce and how you make dinner and what special ingredients you throw in there. The same with people, and I look at it this way. I will go spend my money for a meet and greet. Yeah, meet and greets in some places are really effing expensive right now. And that needs to change. If one thing Vince McMahon did right that he hasn't done right since was making professional wrestling affordable for the family. If Mark Shapiro, who sits there and goes, oh, we got this and we do this with WWE because they're under the TKO window, could understand WWE is not UFC. WWE is athletic theater versus UFC being a full-on commission licensed fighting sport. We need to go back to the fact that, yes, we are watching physical Shakespeare in the form of a match. Whether it is WWE, AEW, TNA, X, Y, and Z, your sister's backside, as Bully Ray likes to say famously on another show. We need to go back to the fact that what we're watching is a story fulfilling itself through physical form. And not so much, oh, hey, it's the Raiders versus the Chargers. It's not meant to be. We already know who's taking the pin and who's coming out on top. Well, we don't. Guys behind the scenes do. But, don't price out your fans because, oh, hey, by the way, we can make more money with this. Fans already have to fight the secondary ticket market. In that some of these secondary ticket market folks who buy and put their tickets on there aren't playing fair themselves. It's kind of sickening, if you ask me. That's why places like in Europe and in Canada, they just got done creating legislative acts to fix a Ticketmaster or a Live Nation and how they do business out there. Don't disagree with Stampede. Stampede's got a very good point that WWE at this stage would be more Ed Wood than Shakespeare. Don't disagree with the man right now. We need to get back to telling a story, compelling the audience, doing what's right for the audience. And that's what Tony Khan is doing right now. A couple years ago, Tony Khan probably would not be in that argument of listening to the fan, catering to the fan, but doing it in a way that benefits both business and the fan. Triple H, he knows what he needs to do. He needs less the Masters up his ass, less the Jerry Joneses up his ass to be able to get his vision put across. That's the problem. It's sickening. It is so absolutely sickening right now that we as wrestling fans have to eat a plate of shit on one end and have to go to the other channel to wash that taste out of our mouth. And like I said, 6 years ago, I probably would have been a tribalist. I probably would have never given AEW a chance. Now, if I get so pissed off what I watch on Raw and SmackDown, I let AEW cleanse my palate. I go and open up Triller and watch Mania Week shows that do not involve the initials WWE to let me escape from the nonsense that you do see there. I have loved professional wrestling for as long as I have known that it exists, which is almost 40 years. 40 years. I mean, I was old enough to know who Hulk Hogan and Andre the Giant were before WrestleMania 6. I watched Sting and Ric Flair when I was 4. Put on a classic in Greensboro, North Carolina. A time limit draw. WWE should go back to doing those. You know, give us the follow through. Give us an extension, another reason to go, oh, okay, you're compelling me to watch this series of matches with them because they didn't have a definitive finish. And each time that it has happened, it's gotten better or it's progressed. You know, Flair and Sting. Flair and Sting is the perfect formula in a lot of senses as to how to build a wrestling feud long term. To go from that moment in Greensboro, North Carolina, to eventually the moment in Baltimore, Maryland, in July of 1990, in which Sting won with a roll-up, mind you. A Paul Smackage, as Christian Cage is famous to say on a previously existent network called the WWE Network. A small package. With everybody blocking the Horsemen from being even... It was the perfect write-off to that 2-year feud with Flair and Sting. You know, we got that under Vince and a little bit under Triple H with Cody and Roman. But the powers that be at TKO thought, oh, hey, this match needs this. So let's pull him out. Let's make this make sense again. No. Stop trying to micromanage what is so simple to set up, build, and let thrive. Now, next week, I will get back to talking about all the business and what I'm able to get to see. This week, quite a bit salty. And with good reason. I'm going to cut this show short today because it was just one long rant. But remember, as a member of Sped Rock Productions, tomorrow is a special Sped Bowl Sunday. Why do I say Sped Bowl Sunday? Well, you're getting 2 Sped Rock Production shows for the price of one day. At 3 Eastern, 2 Central is Point Taken. Dragonfly Jones, K. Views of Bodyslam.net goes up again against the current champion, Mob, and the 2 4-time champions, Stampede and Carlos. Wait, did I say that about Mob? Current defending, now 4-time champion, Mob, against Stampede, Carlos, and Dragonfly. And then, to get your wrestling week started right, Good Evening IWC at 7/6 Central on twitch.tv/Spedrock. Sped puts out some quality stuff. Mob, Carlos, Stampede, the people that we have had on those shows here, there, and in the past make what Sped Rock Productions is good about. If you have a chance, like I said, hit the hashtag, click on that, follow everything. Also, if you're a wrestling company and you just might come across this podcast, you know, there is the link in there for VetTix. VetTix would love to be able to put out tickets for your shows so that way you get more eyes on the product. Rhodes Wrestling Association, AAPW, River City, Reality of, Metroplex, just to name a few, could benefit wholly on having tickets. And they do put them on there. Majority of them do. But like here in Texas, very big hotbed for professional wrestling and should be, you know, thriving and surviving by having those eyes on to be able to buy merch and concessions to benefit those wrestlers so they aren't just going home with the quote-unquote hot dog and a handshake. That being said, down below is where you can find me. This has been From the Cheap Seats, shooting from the hip Saturday with Chris Branson. And we'll see you the same time next week, 11 a.m. Eastern, 10 Central, on Twitch, YouTube, and X. Y'all have a good rest of your weekend, and hoping that all you watch is wrestling done right.